Part 58. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 575. 567 The Strange Traveler. Yahoo opened his eyes in a daze, and looked around. He hasn't figured out the situation yet, but he just vaguely remembers, the rainy night, the hangover, the sudden flash of the headlights, and the final whirlwind. What's wrong with me? Where is this? Yahoo rubbed his sore forehead and looked around. This is a simple but tidy room, about 20 square meters, but the walls are all rough, and the putty has not been scraped. There are very few furniture, beds, tables, and chairs, wardrobes, lockers, and a few dumbbells on the ground. He moved his hands and feet and found that he was full of energy and strength, obviously after systematic training. I came to the full-length mirror and took a picture, and found that there was a face that was 90% similar to him, but the clothes on my body were completely different. At this time, the door suddenly opened, and a young man walked in and shouted at him, "Yahoo! What are you doing? Go! The expeditionary force is about to set off. Don't you want to see it?" "Yahoo! That's my name, that's right. But what's the situation of the expeditionary army?" Yahoo looked at a loss. This development is a bit strange. Are you sleepy? Let's go. It is said that the Legion of Ruins is recruiting again today. Go and see if we can be selected. The young man came over and grabbed Yahoo's hand, dragging him and walking out. A name emerged from Yahoo's mind, Miao Yuchen, who seemed to be his friend. What's happening here? Crossed over? Currently confirming, target name, Yahoo number, TS0449982217. The auxiliary system is being generated, completed number, TSA0449982217. World positioning, completed confirmed world number TSW-223710, command \U0026 conquer. World line time synchronization, completed. Congratulations, you have become a member of the Laplace multidimensional cosmic calculus system, and your current status is an experimenter. You can become an official experimenter only after you have completed the trial task. A series of voices came from Yahoo's mind. He didn't understand a lot of miscellaneous things, but he could understand the words command and conquer. Command and conquer? A game? Did I really time travel? Yahoo thought in his heart while being dragged away by Miao Yuchen. The place where he was located was a 5-story apartment building. After going all the way down the stairs, a robot suddenly walked towards him. When Yahoo saw it, his heart seemed to be struck by lightning. Protect and serve, the protector-type robot guard wobbled past, repeating these words over and over again. Protector robot. Isn't this the classic robot in radiation? Yahoo knelt down immediately. He stroked the icy shell protecting the robot, and his whole body became brother pig. The protector robot. Really? It's alive. It's movable. It's so awesome. Yahoo said while stroking the thigh protecting the robot while drooling. Not only that, but an eyeball robot can be seen flying along the road in mid-air, and the loudspeaker installed on it is constantly playing announcements. Didn't you say it is the world of command and conquer? Why are there so many things in radiation? Yahoo looked at the street and found that it really has some aura of doomsday wasteland. The voice is wrong, this is actually the world of radiation? Such words are simply heaven. Yahoo opened his hands and howled loudly. What are you doing? Let's go. Miao Yuchen forcibly dragged Yahoo away from the protector robot. Yahoo looked at the surrounding situation, but his brows were quickly wrinkled again. From a distance, you can find the wreckage of many high-rise buildings, and even on this street, you can see that both the buildings and the clothes of the people around them are very simple. But if anything, it looks very different from the post-apocalyptic wasteland of the Fallout world. Yahoo thought for a while, and found the problem: order. The people passing by did not have guns on their bodies, and their clothes were mainly about comfort, not defense. Most importantly, there is no trace of scavengers. This shows that the organization is providing all kinds of materials in a unified manner, which is the biggest difference from the doomsday wasteland. Yahoo is very sensitive to this point. He immediately understood that this place is most likely not the world of radiation. While chatting with Miao Yuchen casually, he learned some information about this world, and at the same time walked in the direction of that expeditionary army hand in hand. Along the way, many residents were already rushing there, and many people were constantly chatting about defeating Torch City, killing Lu Weiwei and other topics. And there's a lot of people talking about the Brotherhood of Nod and debating whether Cain is still alive. So this world also has the Brotherhood of Nod and Cain? So why are there so many radiation things in this world? The two worlds have merged. Yahoo thought to himself, pushing through the crowd, and suddenly saw a huge monster appearing in front. It was a huge loading and unloading platform, on which more than a dozen cranes were constantly working, hoisting a large amount of materials onto it. There are hundreds of soldiers standing in line around, and there are several tanks with 5 pairs of road wheels beside them. The moment Yahoo saw this, he felt his heartbeat stop. His saliva dripped again. Driven by the irrepressible ecstasy, Yahoo rushed out of the crowd and jumped on it. T-51B power armor. Really? It's alive. It's moving. The guards maintaining order didn't pay attention, and Yahoo rushed to the group of soldiers wearing power armor. He hugged a soldier's thigh, fondled it drunkenly, and stained the armor with his own saliva. He also didn't care about the smell of engine oil on the power armor, and affectionately licked it over and over again. The goosebumps of the soldiers hugged by him almost came out of the power armor, and they quickly kicked Yahoo away. But he pounced on it again like brown sugar, hugging the power armor and licking it. The soldier had goosebumps all over his body, and he didn't know whether to beat him or what to do. The other soldiers in the queue were also stunned. It wasn't until this time that the guards ran over from behind, and 2 or 3 people supported Yahoo and dragged him away, ready to take him back for investigation. Yahoo is naturally unwilling. His biggest dream in this life is to own a life-sized power armor. That's right, even in his dream, he only dared to hope for a handmade model. But now in front of him, the sweet smell of engine oil, the moving sound of the engine turning, the fragrant exhaust gas, this is a real guy. However, 2 fists were no match for 6 hands. Yahoo was still dragged away, and he was still yelling, "Don't catch me away. T-51B. My T-51B." There were actually 2 marks on both of his legs on the ground. Only then did Yahoo see the huge shadow at the other end of the loading and unloading platform. This should have been the first thing he saw, but at that time all his attention was attracted by the T-51B power armor, and even this super creature with a length of more than 300 meters was ignored by him. However, when he saw this super huge object clearly, he murmured as if he lost his strength, "The Pridewin. Hey! What's wrong with you? Cheer up." The guard's voice seemed to be getting further and further away. Yahoo passed out. All Heaven's Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 576. 568 Mission Selection. After Yahoo woke up, the security personnel didn't do anything to him, they just warned him to be careful with his words and deeds and let him go. After all, what he showed just now was just a fanatical love for power armor. In the eyes of those security personnel, this is actually a good thing. Such a young man will throw his head and blood for the ruined city. He sat up from the bed in the clinic and looked out through the window. The huge body of the Pridewin airship has slowly taken off, began to climb towards the air, and directly entered the thick clouds. During the conversation just now, he already knew that this was not the Pridewin, but the newly built airship of the same level Spirit. Yahoo has calmed down. Although he still felt unavoidable ecstasy, after the ecstasy, he also began to think about the next thing. Whether it's an airship or a power armor, it's like a miracle to really appear in front of you, but you must never forget that these are killing machines. And whether it's radiation or command and conquer, it's a world that kills people. It's a troubled world. A chaotic world in which a human life is worse than a dog. At this moment, the electronically synthesized female voice sounded in my mind again. Trial mission is started. After completing the mission, the experimenter will be upgraded to an experimenter. Task 1, find a shelter. Optional Goal 1, join the ruined city army. Optional Objective 2, leave the ruined city and go to the Torch City. Task Reward, primary physical fitness is strengthened once. Additional Reward 1, take an M41A1 pulse rifle to Torch City. Additional bonus ability, primary crisis premonition. Additional Reward 2, take a T-45 a power armor to Torch City. Bonus ability, Hawkeye. Task. There are still tasks? Yahoo was stunned for a moment, and asked involuntarily, what is this? What is the mission? I am the Laplace multidimensional universe calculation system, and I will serve you in the future. The system basically explained its existence to Yahoo, and he also understood the system. Yahoo scratched his head, and said to himself, so 2 targets, target 1 is obviously to join the forces of this ruined city nearby. And the M41A1 pulse rifle? If the name is not in the string, this is not a weapon in Alien 2, is it? This world is really messed up. He thought about it again, then target 2, it looks like defection. Not only is it a defection, but if you bring some ruined city equipment, there will be additional rewards. It seems that target 2 is more profitable. But then he shook his head and denied, no, target 2 is a pit. I heard people say on the road before that Torch City was defeated by Ruin City, and that Lou was killed. So going to Torch City now, maybe I join the underground organization of resistance. And according to the tone of this mission, the opponent does not have M41A1 and power armor, and even T-45 is rare, and everyone uses T-51B, okay, if this is the case, who would want to mess with them? I'm not an idiot. If you really bring the power armor there, it won't be my turn to drive it, a rookie trader, right? Having made up his mind, Yahoo stood up and opened the door of the ward. Coincidentally, just as he opened the door, he saw Miao Yuchen standing at the door, as if he was about to open the door. Miao Yuchen was almost taken aback by him, clutching his chest and said, what are you doing, Yahoo? I thought you were crazy just now? Yahoo grabbed his hand and said loudly, I was so excited to see the power armor just now. Let's go join the army. That, I came here to ask you about this. Miao Yuchen was a little confused. Yes. Go. I can't wait to put on the power armor. Now Miao Yuchen was still a little uncertain. Well, Yahoo, although I don't know why you suddenly became so enthusiastic, but the army entrance examination for the Ruin Legion is very difficult. No matter how difficult it is, I will do it. Everything is for the power armor. Yahoo's eyes lit up, and he was extremely determined. Chun Yuyan stood on the bridge of the airship Courage, looking at the gradually shrinking ground outside through the 180-degree panoramic observation window. The last time he saw such a scene was when the world of Fallout 4 came to the Elder Maxon of the Brotherhood of Steel. But now, he was standing in the same position as a brand new airship of the same level, overlooking the Earth. Boss Yan, the airship is about to enter the clouds. It's the first test. You'd better not stand by the window. Knight came over and said behind him. Chen Yuyan smiled, looked back at Knight and said, how about it, have you adapted to the new world? Knight shook his head, it's still the same, war has never changed. But, at least in this world, I feel at home again. How is Sean? It's relatively smooth so far. Yesterday, another cell fusion test was conducted. I saw with my own eyes that one of his hands mutated into a claw, fell off again, and turned into a human palm again. Alas, to be honest, I was a little scared to go to the Antarctica base in the Resident Evil world. Every time I see Alexia, well, every cell, every hair on my body reminds me to stay away from her. Speaking of which, you should take her in, lest she look like a resentful woman now. Nate scratched his head and smiled wryly. Chunyuan rubbed his forehead. Do you think the hair and cells on my body don't remind me in the same way? At this time, a woman's voice came from the loudspeaker. Ion storm clouds appear ahead, the first flight test is about to take place, and the whole ship enters a closed state. Knight glanced at the loudspeaker and said, Madison Lee has changed his attitude quite quickly recently. I'm very glad that she can identify with our world. Chunyuan patted Knight on the shoulder. So I took her on this expedition, which is also a test for her. The relationship between the ruined city and the academy, I can't do without just an heir, so I don't have many people I can use, and I look forward to Sean's return more than anyone else. Let's go, I'll buy you coffee. Obviously it's free, so why not? The two left the bridge while talking. And behind them, an armor plate was lowered outside the bridge windows, closing all the windows. Not only that, the flight deck at the rear of the airship also began to close, and the 6 AV-49 Wasp fighters carried were retracted inside the belly of the airship. The surrounding lightning began to become more and more, and some lightning began to strike directly on the airship. But it is dispersed by the good diversion system on the airship, and then released through the discharge rod. For a moment, the entire airship was bathed in lightning. Numerous lightning bolts surrounded the airship, and more than a dozen groups of several meter-long discharge rods below the airship also continuously emitted lightning, which looked like a whale swimming in lightning. In order to prevent the Courage airship from being discovered by GDI's ubiquitous satellites, the scientists of the Academy proposed a plan after studying the data of the Pridewing-class airship, which is to fly in the clouds. It was an almost suicidal scenario. Because the clouds in the world of Command and Conquer are almost entirely charged particles, a little carelessness can trigger a small ion storm. For this reason, the scientists of the Academy stated that the Pridewing-class airship is actually very resistant to lightning, which is also the commonality of all equipment in the radiation world. But considering that the ion storm is much more powerful than normal lightning, they made some modifications to the airship. The specific plan is very complicated and very simple, that is, to make the whole airship into a Faraday cage. A large number of conductive drainage devices are installed outside the airship to allow the energy of lightning to radiate through the outer shell of the airship. And more than a dozen discharge rods were added to the airship to emit excess lightning energy into the air. In this way, the entire airship becomes a huge conductor, which is integrated with the ion storm, making it even safer. Before departure, scientists have conducted several tests, and the results are very satisfactory. But in order to be safe, it is still necessary to conduct regular tests during the expedition to find problems at any time. After all, this time is a one-week journey across the entire Pacific Ocean. Of course there are risks, but if this method is successful, it will be completely impossible for GDI to detect the movement of the Army of Ruins. Now there are countless pairs of eyes on the entire Earth staring at Texas, staring at the Skrin spaceship that is about to fall in the plot. This is also a fuse that ignites the flames of war in the entire world. Thank you Maple Leaf BFI for tipping 500 starting coins. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 577. 569 Trial Mission. This time, Chunyuan made careful arrangements for his expedition to Texas. Because all the materials he can carry for this expedition are on the airship of Courage, and the space is limited, so careful planning is required. The carrying capacity of the Pridewing-class airship is excellent, and the Brotherhood of Steel swept the capital district with the powerful support capabilities of this airship. And it also became their fulcrum in the process of going to the Federation. The Brotherhood of Steel went to the Federation, carrying large equipment including Liberty Supreme, more than a dozen bird helicopters, and more than 500 troops, including more than 200 T-60 power armors. According to this kind of carrying capacity, if it is compact, it is no problem to support the operation of a regiment-level force. But for Chun Yuyan, the situation is simpler. Because he has unlimited bases. The existence of the infinite base allows him to focus on the transportation of troops and supplies without having to carry some large equipment. Otherwise, he really didn't know how such an airship could support a battle across the Pacific Ocean. You must know that this foreseeable battle is definitely not something that a regiment-level force can handle. The size of the base car sent by number 2 is absolutely impossible to be transported, but Chun Yuyan never thought of bringing this thing. After scanning, the base car is a level 4 technological item, and the construction time is 12 hours. When the time comes, go to Texas and just build a new one. This Chun Yuyan car was deployed directly inside the ruined city, and then used as a construction base. It happened that there were too many places to be built in the ruined city, so the base car could just be used. It's just that if number 2 knows that Chun Yuyan only used this precious base vehicle to repair civil buildings, I don't know if he will spit out a mouthful of old blood. You must know that even in the GDI Army, base vehicles are only eligible to use at the level of the regional commander or above. On the Courage airship, 6 Avenue-49 Wasp fighters were carried, which is also the most important escort force for the airship along the way. In addition, there are 1,200 third-generation synthetic human fighters. The memories of these synthetic human fighters are input from veterans of various units. As long as they have enough combat experience to allow them to digest these memories, then the combat capabilities of these synthetic human fighters it will be no less than the Eradicator troops of the former academy. Moreover, the third-generation synthetic human can replenish energy by eating, or directly by charging, so it only needs to ensure sufficient energy supply. There is also a complete T-60 power armor manufacturing and maintenance system on the airship. The reason why it is not Chun Yuyan's favorite T-51B is because the Eastern Brotherhood of Steel has the most complete information and research on T-60 power armor. The previous Pridewing airship also had the same system, and Madison Lee himself was also an excellent mechanical engineer, so it was logical to choose T-60. As for the T-51B, Chun Yuyan has already destroyed all the 50 units that he took to beat Tailong last time for reverse engineering. Now there is information about T-51B power armor in the database of Infinity Base, and the production line can be manufactured. So you only need to wait until you have a firm foothold in Texas before you can build a production line and mass-produce T-51B power armor. In terms of personnel, Chun Yuyan decided to let Knight go with him. He is a very good fighter, as well as an excellent commander and leader. His ability is enough to deal with the upcoming battle, and no matter what the direction is, Chun Yuyan's available troops are not dominant, so he doesn't need to get involved in the command of the large army that Knight is relatively unfamiliar with. In addition, Chun Yuyan was not at ease putting someone like Knight in his rear. This person was too comprehensive in all aspects, especially his appeal and leadership qualities. Then there was Yi, and Chun Yuyan found that he couldn't do without Yi more and more. Not only because of her excellent learning ability and strong strength, but also because of her dependence on herself. Even for Yi, the whole world is Chun Yuyan. How can such a good daughter let her be too far away from me? Elaine also made a fuss about going, although Chun Yuyan still felt that she still needed more study, but after thinking about it later, it is best to take her out to see the world. There's also Drago, the half-human, half-robot mercenary, whose experience of wandering can also help. And there is another core, the Wolf Pack team. Headed by Hank, Four Eyes, Ghost, Beltway, and Bertha. In the original U.S.S, Wolf Mother Looper is in a semi-retired state, and is now helping the Ruin World group train a mercenary group in the world of Resident Evil. Victor was expelled by Hank after being transformed into a black warrior before, and his whereabouts are unknown now. These are the main core personnel of this expedition. Most of the other teams, including Lin Huo and Gao Liang's Haize, need to stay in the ruined city to preside over the overall situation. It's not like Chen Yuyan didn't know about the undercurrents in Torch City, but he could only leave temporarily to go on an expedition to Texas. Because even if the Torch City is lost, it will not be able to harm the foundation of the Ruin Legion. But if Tacitus cannot be taken down, then when the Second War ends and the Skrins invade, they will really be completely out of the game. In the war at that time, if the Tiberium technology recorded in Tacitus could not be mastered, it would basically be hung up to fight, and there would be a huge generation gap in all aspects of equipment. There was still lightning and thunder outside the airship, and Chen Yuyan looked at the far east through the armored plate, where an unknown battle was waiting for him. Trial Mission 1, the foothold has been completed. The experimenter Yehao has officially joined the Ruin City Army. Mission rewards: primary physical strength is strengthened once due to the lack of reinforcement media. The reinforcement will take place after your next sleep for 4 hours. When Yehao officially took over the black military uniform from the non-commissioned officer, a system prompt came from his mind. In the past 2 days, he has gotten used to the existence of the system, and has learned a lot about the system. At the same time, in order to join the army of the ruined city, Yehao also worked hard. Because joining the army requires a rigorous physical fitness test, the most important thing is want. Test. Arts. Change. Class. Of course, generally speaking, the literacy test is not difficult, but it can't help that Yehao is a scumbag in the first place. And if you fail the literacy test, you need to apply for a literacy training class, so at least another month has passed. In order to complete this task as soon as possible and become an experimenter, Yehao also worked hard. Now he also has a better understanding of the world and understands that this is really the world of command \U0026 conquer. And those technologies in the world of radiation were brought by Chen Yuyan, the boss of Ruin City. Therefore, Yehao judged that Chen Yuyan might also be a time traveler. This made him a little tangled, because he didn't know how Chen Yuyan, a time traveler, viewed other fellow time travelers. Is it hostile or friendly? He has no idea. There is no way to know more about Chen Yuyan. Although there are many rumors and anecdotes about Chen Yuyan in the ruined city, they are of no reference value. From his attitude towards ordinary people, it is completely impossible to judge how he will treat traversers. Yehao therefore planned to hide his strength and bide his time, and then decide how to contact Chen Yuyan after he fully understood. Or rather, escape from here. Trial Task 2, Stand Out. Mission Objective: find a way to get a military medal in the army. Task Reward: beginner to intermediate muscle strength strengthening. The strengthening strength is determined according to the medal level. After the task is completed, you will become an official experimenter and will have the opportunity to travel through time and space. Travel through time and space. Yehao felt as if a flash of lightning flashed across his mind. Could it be that this is how the radiation technology in Chen Yuyan's hands came about? Thanks to Primal Phoenix for the reward of 1,433 starting coins. Thank you Maple Leaf Biafii for rewarding Yi with 500 starting coins. All Heavens Unlimited Base. Author, Jingde Ren. Chapter 579. Chapter 579. It's been 2 years. It's been 2 years. From July 16, 2019, until May 6, 2021. Finally unblocked, ha 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 ha. I really don't know what to say. 6 million words. Nearly 6 million words. A book written in 3 years was sealed overnight. What a feeling! What a feeling! In the past 2 years, I changed and changed, applied and applied again, but I always failed. I'm going to despair. But today, life finally gave me another surprise. The mechanic is back. Ha 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 ha. Well, the venting is over, let's talk about something serious. Now Star Wars, the fourth scourge is being serialized, and it is impossible for me to interrupt that book in its current state. So I thought about it, and here it goes. The new book Star Wars, the fourth calamity will continue to be updated according to the original plan, and it will also be my main focus in the future. Then about the mechanic of Infinite Legend, I need about a month to review the old plot and clarify my previous thinking. After all, let's be honest, Xiao Jing's outline is all in his head, and I really didn't expect it to come out at that time, and some of the ideas at that time are now forgotten. Then slowly resume the update, first follow what the readers in the group said, start from 1 to 2 updates a week, and look for the status. After all, the classic of mechanics cannot be ruined because of rush work. After the Star Wars, the fourth scourge is finished, I will use all my energy to write the mechanic, and then until the end of the book. That's it. Maybe this is a long-term plan, maybe it will take 3 years or even 5 years, but please rest assured, Xiao Jing is still here, and I will continue to write. Not much to say, let's brush up the comments. Ha 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 ha.